Hi, I'm Bella Perez Rubio, PumaPodcast, and you're listening to Teka Teka News. Balitang thinking, hindi breaking. In this episode,
it's really a problem. I don't have easy answers here, and I don't think any one of us can provide easy answers as to better engage the audiences today. We have been castrated, sadly, by the previous administration, and the new administration has been enjoying, quote unquote, for its purpose, that kind of situation that we are in now.
we listen to some of the country's best journalists discuss the challenges of working in an era marked by impunity and disinformation. On October 27, the Center for Media Freedom and Responsibility hosted its annual Jaime V Ongpin Seminar, where 7 reporter panelists discussed what it's like to work in the media today.
In terms of dealing with press freedom, I think he's having it easy because he saw the template under President Duterte. President Duterte was able to shut down the biggest broadcast station on free TV and free radio without having to padlock the doors or the gates of ABS-CBN. He did that with a lot of disinformation.
That's Christian Esguerra, a podcast host and former ANC anchor, talking about the media landscape inherited by President Marcos Jr.
He did that by threatening members of the press. So basically, he paved the way for whoever would follow him. And fortunately for him, someone aligned with his politics followed him. So ngayon, President Marcos is having it easy. He doesn't have to attack the press really. He doesn't have to spread disinformation himself because other people are doing that for him. The troll networks have been doing that for him.
The last few years have been tough on reporters, to say the least. Under former President Duterte, there were killings, libel cases, disinformation, and attempts to shut down entire newsrooms. The first 100 days of the Marcos administration have shown that these problems will likely persist, if not get worse.
I think the biggest peril that we have now, aside from disinformation, is self-censorship, which is the worst form of censorship. The fact that we don't have to be told anymore by whoever is in power, by our media owners. Many of the journalists today are already doing self-censorship. And that is a very, very alarming reality.
In one of his self-produced podcasts, Christian revealed that it was ABS-CBN president and CEO Carlo Katigbak who fired him and canceled his show on the network. He said it was quote-unquote, no thanks to the prevailing political climate. The last Reuters Institute survey also showed that more people around the world trust the news less and have even started avoiding the news. Listen to Rappler reporter Rambo Talabong.
We face pressure from a misled audience, an audience that has been victimized by disinformation. We journalists have been told, who are you? What do you do? How do you know what you know? What the hell is verification? These are things that shouldn't be asked with journalists, but the past election has been a reckoning for our understanding of media literacy and our understanding of the audience.
And here's Mike Navalio, an anchor at ANC.
I would say the loss of trust in traditional media is one of the biggest challenges that we all have to face. It could be a result of a number of factors. The constant attacks by people in power in the past couple of years has slowly eroded credibility of the media, but also the rise of other information sources. The rise of social media users, even vloggers, have challenged the dominance of traditional media to gatekeep information to the public. So it's now a question of how do we compete with all the sources of information to stay afloat and remain credible?
We'll pause here, but when we return, more on the issues journalists are grappling with. Fellow ABS-CBN host Carmina Constantino had a slightly different take on the growing divide between traditional media and the public. She notes that the media is also partly to blame.
We have failed to be empathetic to the public that we serve. And that, I think, is the reason why it's become sort of an us against them when it should be one and the same. We serve them. We are here so that they can be free to make decisions that can affect themselves and their lives. So there's a big problem right there. And I think that all emanated from, there was just this breakdown of empathy. There was just this breakdown of informing them as if we were on top of them, as if we are lording over them, when we should be right there with them and wanting to know what is the information that they need so they can better their lives.
This view was shared by others on the panel, including TV5 reporter Manolo Los Banos. But she adds that there are lines reporters can't cross, no matter how badly they want to win back the public's trust.
There is distrust there. But I think for me, the reminder is it is not our job to please them, even if we want to win their trust again. But it is our responsibility to answer their queries.
You have to meet the audience where they are, is something we in the media often hear. And that's a good idea. But there's only so much journalists can do in a day.
It's the challenge to be present in all platforms. Gone were the days when you are a TV reporter and you just need to be present on live reports for TV. Right now, when we go on field, we need to be present on Twitter, on Facebook, on TV, on radio. This is something that is out of our comfort zone, but we're willing to let go and to sacrifice comfort for the sake of truth, just to be present in all platforms that are usually, for example, social media, platform that is usually dominated by propagandists, influencers, and even trolls.
As bleak as the situation might seem, 2022 Marshall McLuhan Fellow Carmina Constantino reminds us one thing. For as long as journalism has existed, there has been resistance.
We're talking about press freedom now and attacks on press freedom now. But really the big picture is, has the press really been free in this country? I think we have to understand that for as long as news organizations are owned by big businesses, partly because they're there to protect their own interests, can we really say that the press is actually free? But having said that, for the precious minutes that you're on air, for that time of night when you're writing your story, a journalist has to be at his freest. You tell the story through interviews, through questions. That's where real press freedom exists.
And that was today's episode of Teka Teka. Again, I'm Bella Perez Rubio. This episode was produced by Kat Ventura and edited by Presh Capistrano. If you want to learn more about the Philippine media in the time of President Marcos Jr., listen to this episode about the killing of radio host Percy Lapid titled Don't Shoot the Messenger. We are excited to build our community with you, and it looks like we'll be able to meet for events real soon. So if you want to stay in the loop, please go to PumaPodcast.com and subscribe to our newsletter. Thanks for listening.